Nope.
Everyone.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I want to start this by introducing ourselves. I'm Karen Kennedy, and along with Gail Boyd, another person you see on your screen, we have created Vanguard Arts, which is an organization that is a consulting firm, actually. And we started this because we wanted to address the issue of whether the arts community is being served appropriately. And if so, or if not, what's needed. So we created a forum called Vanguard Arts to ask the hard questions and find smart solutions. We have a small growing clientele that includes arts organizations and independent artists. And today we're introducing Three Chairs. It's a talk show webcast where we share ideas, experiences, opinions, and hopefully laughs with who we think is an important guest from the arts community. Some of the people we invite are going to be long admirers, and others we just want to get to know better. So, since Gail and I first bonded over jazz and wine, we are lifting our glass. Please join us with a glass of whatever you want to share, and let's get to it. Today we've got Christian McBride, and what's exciting about Christian is that this is our very first debut of the show. And we thought, what better person to start with is someone who we've known for many years and who we've shared a lot of wine and some really good times. And we figured, as much as he's been around, there's still stuff that you don't know about Christian. And we, Gail and I, are the ones to find out and share it with you.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. No, that was a real lead-in, wasn't it, Christian?
Guys, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm deeply honored that you asked me to be your first guest. Man, I toast you guys. I got beaten carrot juice, but nevertheless,
well,
I have grape juice. I have grape juice.
It's the same color, right? Right.
We're recycling grapes.
That's right.
We do believe in recycling. I know that everybody in the audience will know who you are, but I just want to give a brief introduction to say that you are the artistic director of the Newport Jazz Festival. Yay. That you are the artistic director of Jazz House Kids, yay, along with the director and president and CEO and founder, Melissa Walker, who also happens to be your wife. Yay. That you work with Jazz Night in America on NPR, and you also work with SiriusXM on The Lowdown. What do you do in your spare time?
What do I do in my spare time? Play PlayStation. PS4.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, I get a little Madden in every now and then, or MLB The Show. I don't get it done that often, but I like to zone out and play my video games every once in a while.
That's great.
Do you ever play with other people?
I haven't gone that far yet. Warren Wolf keeps trying to get me to go online with him like 2 o'clock in the morning, but like he's serious. I play video games to have fun.
Well, Warren's got like 5 kids. So
yes,
if I had 5 kids, I'd probably play too.
Yeah. But he's serious. He's like, I've seen him play. Say, I'm gonna beat you. I'm like, dude, we just having fun, man.
That's funny. So, Christian, tell me, how do you describe joy? What is joy to you?
Joy. Joy is faith. Joy is when you know everything's going to be all right. You do the very best you can, and you trust that, it's going to be all right. That faith that you have, that to me is joy.
Did you always have that?
I think so. I was, my mom is, she's so hip because, I didn't really grow up in a particularly religious household, a spiritual household, but not necessarily, like
right.
My grandmother, she would have liked it if I'd gone to church on a regular basis. But, my mother taught me and said, look, you don't have to be in church every Sunday to understand the presence of a greater force, to understand that God exists. And as long as you believe in something greater than yourself, She's like, I don't care what you call him, God, Jehovah, Allah, whatever you
Mhm.
call him. As long as you realize there's some greater power out there.
That's the phone.
That's I've been getting these junk calls from these politicians and
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got the knock on the door right before this.
oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And the guy was banging on the door. And then and I'm like, well, geez, should I open this? And then he came, I looked through the little peephole and he had the forward 2022 or whatever.
Oh wow.
He was like, so I'm just checking. Are you so-and-so? Are you registered this way? And are you going to vote for so-and-so? I'm like, count me in. I'm on a Zoom call. Goodbye.
That's right.
Okay, it's going to take 10 more seconds. I'm like, nope.
Nope. All the time. It's funny. So what were you saying about your mom? So she wasn't particularly religious, but she was spiritual, it sounds like.
Very much so. And so I don't know. I always felt like I always had faith. I think there was always this faith in just being just be nice to people, be as decent, be as positive as you could possibly be, and things should work out for you. That might be a little too oversimplistic or naive, but I like being nice to people.
Yeah. It's so true. I was in an airport, I guess, and just the simple act of someone saying, "Oh, here, I can help you."
Yeah.
And we need so much of that right now.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Man.
When did you first meet Karen Kennedy?
Oh man, how did I first meet Karen Kennedy? I think I heard about Karen before I met her through the great pianist Eric Reed, and I just can't remember exactly where it was for the first time, but I felt the same way about Karen I felt about you, Gail, and I still feel that way. I don't see enough of these genius Black women like yourselves in this business.
Wow.
I wrote a whole essay about this, and it hasn't been published yet. But
we'll publish it. Vanguard Arts Press.
Right.
Oh, right on. And I just once I met you, Karen, and saw all of the great work that you've done through the years, and I knew about your history before you got into the jazz world, working with Lou Silas and all those guys in the R&B world. And, that's really sort of my wheelhouse. I'm known as a jazz guy, but R&B and soul is really like, that I was raised on that. So when I knew that was your background, I was like, oh, we got even more stuff to connect on. And Gail, same thing with you. Antonio Hart told me about you, and I was like, "Oh man, that's so killing! I love seeing these bad sisters doing the thing out here."
That had to be 1991 or 2 then.
That's about right.
Because that's when I was working with him, and he's still like my son. He just texted me today.
Oh yeah, that's well, when we were in Roy Hargrove's band together, we were roomies on the road.
That had to be fun.
Well, because a lot of people don't realize that something as simple as a hotel room for the individual band members, that wasn't always the case. So
that's a new concept, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So
they still tried.
Yeah, so when I went on the road with Roy for the first time, Larry Clothes said, "Look, pick your roommate. You guys got to shack up." So me and Antonio were like, "Come on, let's do this." So that was my man.
I have a story that Michael Carvin told about that one time, and I really want to get him on with us to talk about it. But he said he was out with Dakota Staten, and they went someplace in Washington, D.C., and he knocked on Dakota's hotel door and said, "Dakota, we can't stay here. They don't even have sheets on the bed." And Dakota said, "You didn't bring your sheets?"
Oh, no.
Wow.
That's how things used to be.
I heard this great story that Betty LaVette told this story that the way, how like in hotel rooms, you always get an iron and a board now.
Yeah.
And said Bobby Womack and those guys would lift up the mattress and put their suits under the mattress and put it down. That's how they would iron their clothes.
Wow.
And they would sleep on it overnight.
What a great idea.
Wow.
You know what? We're probably going to get back to that given the energy crisis that we're about to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
That's
That's
so
a great story.
And you're so young to have experienced all the way from having to have a roommate to
But
now.
you were so young when you started. You were what, 17?
That's correct. I was 17 when I moved to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And living at the Y on Broadway or Broadway?
Central Park West.
And Central Park West.
Wow.
63rd. Yeah. Those were the official Juilliard dorms.
Yeah, no wonder you left.
So let me ask you, I want you to tell us about a positive, really feel-good experience, but you later found out impacted somebody in a positive way, something you did or said to that person.
I think probably one of the first stories that comes to mind, only because we mentioned his name a few minutes ago, is Warren Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I first met Warren at the Jazz Aspen summer camp, which is where I've been artistic director for the last 21 years now. And so my first year as artistic director, which was in 2000, Warren was a student. And he sounded then like he sounds now. And I thought, who is this kid on these vibes?
Yeah.
And I said, man, look, let me have your phone number. I don't really need a vibraphonist right now, but I'm going to keep you in mind. And so it took 7 years, and I was about to go into the Vanguard for the first time in a very, very long time. And I said, let me call that kid that played vibes, Warren. Wow. And so I had my manager call Warren. And when I finally saw him, he's like, man, I thought you forgot, man. It's like, I'm so happy you called,
Wow.
And, I really do my best. I try to learn from my mistakes, from my mistakes. And I know that something as simple as keeping your word registers under the umbrella of being nice to someone.
Yes.
And so I try not to give those knee-jerk reactions of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call you, we'll talk, you know what I mean? And I try not to take that lightly now. So if I tell somebody, hey, look, give me your number, I can't make any promises, but I got you. But Warren, it seems like Warren had been, he was really happy and he was really surprised when I called him for that gig at the Vanguard.
Yeah. So since you bring that up, the converse of that, have there been times when you've said something that was discouraging, or they took it as a discouragement?
Oh man.
You don't have to name names.
Yeah.
No, I won't. Well, I'll tell you what happened. And this was sort of a new thing for me. When George Wein named me artistic director of Newport, he basically took me aside and said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said in so many words, he said, look, you're already famous in the jazz world, but with a gig like this, certain people might start coming after you now. So, watch your back,
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, watch my back. That sounds ominous. And so, and he said, remember, you don't need to fight every fight, And I didn't really know what that meant until maybe like a week and a half later. Someone sends me this link. I think my assistant at that time, he says, you might want to check this out. Some person had written this really mean like essay about something that I had said that was derogatory about Horace Silver, and I was desecrating the legacy. And I went, what are they talking about? I would never say anything bad about Horace Silver. So this person found a newspaper article from like 9 years before. We did a tribute to Horace Silver at Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles. And it was his last public appearance. He didn't perform, but his son brought him there. And Gregory or whoever was with Horace that night, they were very, very open. They say, Horace is dealing with dementia, and it's been really hard, but he's in good spirits. And so I got interviewed in the Los Angeles Times talking about the concert. And so I can't remember who interviewed me. I don't think it was Don Heckman. I think he was gone by then. But someone said, hey, I hear Horace is dealing with dementia. Is that true? Now, I wasn't a rookie at giving interviews, but I guess this was a rookie-ish mistake. I said, yes, he has dementia, right? Now, I wouldn't have said that had they not been so open about it, backstage. Like, they didn't seem like they were trying to hide it, right? And so whoever this person was who wrote this essay said, well, you had no business disclosing his health state without checking with the family.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, well, I took my cues from the family. And so I got so freaked out by this nasty essay. I wrote this person back, called her on the phone, and she was like, how dare you say what you said about Horace? That was really that was mean, and you making his legacy look bad. I'm like, so we squashed it, and I told George about this story, and George said, what did I tell you? Didn't I tell you don't need to fight every fight?
Right.
He said, had you not, he said, that's sweet that you went out of your way to call that person, but something like that, trust me, that would have gone away in a couple of days.
Just let it go.
Yeah, just let it go, man. So somebody said something bad about you. Boo-hoo, get used to it.
Yeah. So how has it been? Because you're in your third year now with Newport?
Fifth.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Well, okay, you got 2 years of COVID. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay, so now you're a veteran at the preeminent jazz festival in the world, fair to say. So what have you learned since COVID? What have you learned about audiences, about musicians, about presenting? Because it's a different role than, yes, being artistic director says you have influence on what happens, but with I think with Newport, it's much beyond that.
Yeah. Well, with specific regard to the pandemic and how COVID has affected everything, I'm still not sure we really have felt the full effect of what it's actually done to the to our community. I think of all of the people that passed away and how Newport this year was at half capacity. So we're still not, we came back, but not all the way back. So I still think it's we're still trying to put all the pieces back together. I did have a little practice in terms of curating and sort of artistic directorship when I did that with the LA Phil for 4 years, and also with NJ Pack. In fact, that was one of the things that George, I had no idea he was like really
prepping you,
keeping an eye on stuff that I was doing. And he said, I saw what you booked out in LA. That was really good, and I like the fact that you're very diverse. You don't seem to have any hangups with any particular style of jazz. That's what I want for my legacy, for my festival. What I've learned about Newport and booking and how musicians view the festival and things like that, I do realize that it's the oldest, it's the first jazz festival in America. It's the oldest jazz festival in America, and it still has that that historic sheen to it, you know.
Yes.
And I think that musicians really feel a lot more comfortable when they see another musician who knows how to communicate with them. They know what they need, you know.
Mhm.
You know, as artistic director, uh, I'm not a producer, but I do see the writers, you know,
Mhm.
and you know, I look at the writers and I think that even if we can't provide everything that's on the writer, I think musicians really appreciate it if somebody just simply comes up to them and says, "Hey, welcome to the festival. I'm glad you're here. Let me walk you to your room. Is there
Yes.
anything you need?" I think musicians oftentimes we show up at a venue and you know we got to fend for ourselves. You know,
Yes.
where's our point person? You know, where's this? Where's that? There's kind of nobody there to take care of us. So I do my best to make sure all my family members, you know, meaning the musicians,
Mhm.
know that they're appreciated, and I don't take them for granted. So it's like those little tiny things,
Little
you
things.
know.
Wow.
It does make a huge difference because, and I will say this, and I'm a toot your horn for you or your bass, as it is. um, because there are musicians who are presenters who run different programs, different festivals, you know, different venues, and some of them do it very much the way in which you're talking about, and some of them seem to have forgotten what it's like to be a musician, and they're more focused on what it is to be a presenter.
Right.
And it's a delicate balance. I think
Yes.
it's a hard position for anyone to do, especially when you come from the musician side, from the artist side, as you are aware of it, and yet you have this other um, ownership,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, to be responsible to the venue, to the audiences, and it takes a special person to see that those are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, Karen, and you know I do feel like um, there is a certain understanding that one must have when you're trying to balance the commercial responsibility, the artistic
Yeah.
responsibility, the sort of educational slash outreach responsibility, because you know the Newport Jazz Festival and the Newport Folk Festival
Right.
are housed under the umbrella of the Newport Festival Foundation that
Right.
George created, and so it's not simply just booking a jazz festival.
Right.
You know, there's some outreach, there's audience building, there's this balance of how do we keep George's legacy intact, but also still stay on the cutting edge and stay modern. You know, so
Mhm.
you know, there's all kinds of things to think about all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So how do you juggle all of this? I mean, it gets back to Gail's question earlier. It's like, geez, how you got a lot going on because that's the same kind of responsibility you have there than what you have at Aspen
right,
and
right.
Japan and all these other things.
Well, I think I have a really good team of people to work with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When things get piled up, which they do often,
Mhm.
um, you know, I have somebody here who works with me in my office at home. I have Brittany, who's the
Mhm.
general manager of my company, McBride Company,
Mhm.
and I recently signed with Red Light Entertainment, as my management company.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
good.
and so I got people to like pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
You know,
People.
I got it.
I
I got it.
That's great.
AWD.
Speaking of Newport, it was really, you know, it was hard to say. It was sad that we had learned of the passing of George Wein because he
right?
had lived such a long, beautiful, productive life,
Yeah.
and so you're happy to have had an opportunity to get to know him and meet him. So tell me about your feeling about his passing this year.
Well, you know, as you said, it was sad, but I think all of us sort of expected it because
Yeah.
he had been in very poor health for the last couple of months of his life,
Mm,
and George passed away on a Sunday. I saw him on Friday,
mm,
and he did something that he had never done for me before, and it felt so it felt like it felt so almost corny, you know. And I thought, this feels like the end of the story, but this would be too perfect. This is almost too corny to be this perfect. I'm hanging out in George's apartment. He's in his wheelchair, and he said, "Hey, did I ever tell you about this song I wrote?" I said, "No, I didn't know you composed, George." And he said, "Check this song out." And he starts singing to me, right? With his, throaty old man voice, and the words God and joy were in it. And I just remember thinking, like, no, I'm not going to think that this is the end, And I said, "George, do you mind singing this one more time so I can record you?" And he's like, yeah, no problem. So I took my phone out, and what was beautiful is he got like to the second verse and he forgot the words, and he's like, "When you have," he said, "When you have love, you have God," or whatever it was. He's like, "You have God, and when you have what? Oh shit, I forgot it." So I got George saying it. It was really beautiful.
Oh man!
And that was him saying goodbye.
Yeah.
And
he was gone 48 hours later.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. I'm glad you could share that.
Yeah.
I have heard that you have perfect recall. Is that true?
No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm starting to get some cracks. I gotta tell you, I went to Sonia Sanchez had a big celebration dinner last night, and this was one of the first times this has ever happened to me. I'm at this dinner and I see these people over in the corner. I'm going,
You're a new member to the club.
Like, what's their names?
It's always embarrassing when they come up to you and you're trying to remember their name to introduce them to somebody else.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do. So I tell Karen now, look, if you see me struggling, just say, "Hi, I'm
help me
Karen."
out. Right.
Yeah. I've done that with all my clients, but Christian, you used to be able to quote word for word, like soliloquies from.
Oh, I still got a few things that are stuck to memory forever.
Oh, okay.
A couple movies.
Okay, and the one I remember is wait, don't tell me.
Because that's
I know, right. Stand by me, Joe, whatever.
Lean on me.
Lean on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, lean on me. That's it. Lean on me.
Yeah, I could probably still recite that movie from beginning to end.
Really?
I'll spare you on this.
Please, thank you.
I was always hoping to meet the real Joe Clark one day.
Yeah.
So Beverly Todd, who played Miss Levias in that movie, I met her right before the pandemic. We did a thing out in LA, and I said, "Miss Todd, please forgive me for being an idiot, but I must do this for you." And I did a scene from Lean on Me for her. She just died laughing.
That's funny, because that was going to be my next question. When have you ever used your perfect recall? And that's a perfect answer.
Oh man, I met Miss Levias. I was like, woo!
see, but I love that, because that says there is no ego. There is just, let me just lay it out for you.
Yeah, but I'm also such a big fan of these great artists. I have no problem being a fanboy, because I want people to know how much I really appreciate what they do, and
I remember you missing a bus in 1994 in Pori, Finland, because you had heard James Brown was coming to town, and you actually was almost late for your own performance because you got on a bus and went into.
Well, I was on James Brown's bus, and they were like, "Look, we can ready to pull out to go to Helsinki." I said, "Well, look, I can't go to Helsinki." And meanwhile, everybody in the band was like, "Yo, where's McBride?" He's like, "Oh, he's with James Brown and them."
I remember that so clearly.
Oh man, I got some of that on video, believe it or not.
Wow.
Oh, I'd love to see that one day.
And do you remember who else was at Pori that year? Was Wilson Pickett.
Well,
Oh
wait,
my
I was
gosh.
coming out of the hotel and I see this black man because there were no other black people around
Right.
at that time. And I saw this black man. And he said, "Hey." And I said, "Hi." He said, "I'm Wilson Wicked Pickett." And I went running to him because I didn't know who he was. I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, what are you? Who are you?" You know, it was so much fun.
Wow.
It's so great when you're in places like that. And
Yeah.
my one little story was I was in Auch, France, which is in the lower part of southwest part of France, and I was with Stan Getz, and that's where when I met Kenny Barron. It was Kenny and his wife Joanne. It was Terry Lynn, and it was Alex Blake.
Wow.
But I've been working. This is when I was working at A&M Records, and so I was doing product management for Stan. So I was on tour with him, and we were at this hotel in Auch, and I think I'm getting ready to go for a run. I'm in the lobby, and this guy comes up and he says, "Well, hello there," in this deep voice. And I'm like, "Hi," and he's like, "So, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Getting ready to go for a run." And he's like, "Oh, well, you should call me when you get back." I'm like, "Okay." And it was Joe Williams.
Wow.
It was just like
with the voice.
With the voice.
Karen, I got a great Joe Williams story for you. Joe Williams shushed me one time when I was in high school.
In high school, what happened? Tell the story.
He was a special guest with the Basie Band, and Herbie Hancock's trio with Buster Williams and Al Foster opened the show. And so Joey Francesco and I, because we were best friends in high school, so we would go to all these shows together. So we're backstage, watching Herbie, and all of the people from the Basie Band are kind of gathering around, and there's Joe Williams. And I was like, "Oh man," I said, "Mr. Williams, I'm a huge fan of yours. I got so many of your records." And the whole time he said, "Oh, thank you, young man. Thank you." And I said, "I saw you on television once. You were singing with Sarah Vaughan, and I just love everything." He said, "Yeah, thank you." I said, "And Mr. Williams, I got this one record you made with Jack McDuck," and I just say, turn around, shh.
It's like, enough. What did you do?
I was just there like, "I'm sorry."
That is hilarious.
But you lived on.
I lived on.
That is so funny.
And I actually got to play with him like maybe 6 years after that, but I never bothered.
Did he remember that?
No, I didn't bother telling him that.
But when you think about it, it's like, how fortunate are we to have been able to live in a time where you've seen this spectrum, this huge spectrum of masterful artists.
Yeah.
Karen, I forgot that you'd worked with Stan. Thanks for refreshing my memory.
That is how I met Kenny Barron.
Wow.
And Terry Lynn and Alex Blake at that summer.
And look what happens to be the album right near my leg right now.
My goodness. Isn't that something? See, everyone has a Stan Getz story, but I'll tell you, I just loved him. And he was so kind to Kenny. He was so kind to me.
Yeah.
And I know he has a reputation, but it was a wonderful time. And I will say my transformative moment, and everyone has one in life, was when we were on tour. We were in south of France. In give me the name of a famous coastal.
Aix-en-Provence or something.
No, that's not coastal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like Juan Le Pen or something like that.
No, but close. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
same area.
Somewhere down in there.
I know. Now it's like famous, and I can't think of it. Anyway, so he had rented this villa, and I was staying there with his nephew. I want to say another good friend of ours, who at the time was his macrobiotic chef. Donna, Donna said, you may not know her. Anyway, so we were staying at this villa, and everyone had left to go do whatever. And so I said, okay, there's a pool. I'm going to go swimming. So I'm laying in the pool and just floating on my back, and it's blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. It's gorgeous. There's a little private vineyard down the road, and I'm just floating. And then all of a sudden, Stan comes out and he says, Karen, do you mind if I practice?
Wow.
I'm like, me? No, Stan, you go right ahead and you practice. As I am floating in a pool
in the south of France.
Man.
And he is just practicing. And I'm like, this is my life. And I remember saying, it's like, okay, well, if I die tomorrow, that's cool. I'm good.
Yeah.
Is that when you decided that you wanted to remain that you wanted to become a manager?
No.
Wow. You just like that whole vibe.
No, I was just happy to be there. I didn't become a manager until years later, but I was just happy to be there.
Wow.
It reconfirmed that I was doing what I should be doing, which was be in music and in the arts.
Right.
Yeah.
Gail, when we sat on that panel at Jazz Congress and we were talking about Betty.
Yes.
You know, one of my favorite things, as you well know, once I got to meet you and I found out who your husband was.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that's the only thing I've ever loved, maybe as much as music, is football.
And I thought it was baseball because Karen said,
well, that too.
Okay. But football, yeah. I know.
Yeah, I love baseball, but football was the only sport I could actually play.
Okay.
I was poor baseball player, poor basketball player.
But you could play. What position?
In football, usually I was a tight end.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I never thought you'd be back. Oh, wow.
I did that once, and actually, I could tell the story now because it happened so long ago. But you remember the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival up in Idaho?
Yeah.
And so I'm back there throwing the football with George Flutis and all the guys from Ray Brown's group, and a couple of guys from the University of Idaho football team were there, and they say, "Hey man, we hear that you used to play a little football back in the day." And I'm looking at these real football players. Yeah. I'm thinking, I'm not sure I should confirm that, right? And so they say, "Hey, we're having a scrimmage tomorrow. You want to come?" I said, "Sure, I'll come watch." And so they actually let me come on the field, and I ran a few plays with some of the players from the University of Idaho football team, and they made me a fullback, and they said, "Okay, look, we're gonna give you the ball." I was like, "Now wait, we playing two-man, we playing tag, right? Two-hand tag. I mean, like, we not tackling or nothing for real, you know." It's like, no, we just playing tag, you know, or soft tackle they called it. Soft tackle. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't like this. They give me the ball, Gail. I run up the middle, and my ankle goes.
Oh,
you know,
no!
I mean, fortunately, it wasn't that bad, but I was just like, "See, this is why I play the bass and not football."
Right.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But he's a fan of yours, and I told him that you were a fan of his. So it's
man.
I can't wait for you all to get together and talk about. Well, he doesn't like to talk about football too much, but you know, he always says football is what I did. It's not who I am.
Right.
But if you get him started talking about it, he will talk about it ad infinitum.
But for those people who don't know that you're married to Walter Beach III,
yes,
you should let them know that he was on the very first Super Bowl team from Cleveland Browns, and he has how many Super Bowl rings?
No, they lost the second year, and he has a World Championship ring for 64.
64.
They lost to Green Bay Packers in 65.
Right. And how long have you been married, Gail?
36.
And at what point in those 36 years did you actually learn how to memorize that information you just provided us?
Well, you see, I still didn't have it right. I know nothing. I'm so embarrassed because I know nothing about football. So when we're sitting there watching the game, and he will say, "Wait a minute, let me take this back and let me show you what this guy did, and because if he's the whatever, he was supposed to be in front of the guy. And so and I'm just looking like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, okay, and he's like, did you see that again? And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. And I'm saying, I don't know positions, I don't know anything. Third and long. He'll say things to me like third and long, and I'm like,
what you talking about?
What are you talking about? And that's after 30-something years. I just don't get it. I like basketball. I went to a high school that was it for basketball, so I can hang with you a little bit.
What high school was that?
Crane High School in Chicago, and our motto was, if we lose the game, we'll win the fight.
Woo!
Good for you.
That's hardcore.
That was a serious basketball school. And then I went to college at DePaul, which at that time was a basketball powerhouse.
Right.
So I can hang with you with basketball, but if you start telling me about running backs, and he was a defensive halfback at some place.
No such thing. No such thing.
Okay, see what I
mean? Defensive halfback. Gail made up his position.
That's so cute.
I do know he was a cornerback.
That's right.
For the Browns.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's a defensive back, not a halfback. That's a defensive back.
I think I should at least know what position he played.
Hey, Gail, here's a cool football story. So, one year at the Detroit Jazz Festival, I got to meet former Detroit Lion legend Lem Barney.
He's my husband's one of his best friends.
See, so that's where I was going. So I'm hanging out with Lem in my hotel suite, and we start talking about football. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, this was a moment. It was great, and then it got a little scary. Wow. He started having a flashback, and he said, "So yeah, you from Philly, huh? I remember y'all used to have a big offensive lineman named Bob Brown, and I remember the first time I played across from Bob Brown." And then Lem gets in his football position, and he said, "Let me show you what Bob Brown did to me." And I was like,
"Don't show me on me.
Don't hit me."
I already turned my ankle up with the Idaho people.
And so he gets into his football stance. And I'm thinking, is this man getting ready to tackle me? And he said, we came out of the break, and Bob Brown came around, and he opens his arms like he's getting ready to tackle me. And I'm like,
no.
But
hilarious.
But up until the time he backed off, I was like, he's getting ready to tackle me.
Well, now here's some trivia for you for Lem Barney. You know, in Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, and in the very beginning where everybody's saying, "Hey, what's happening, man?" Lem Barney is in there.
That's why we met, because I was MDing a Marvin Gaye tribute. And he was the MC.
Yeah, you can really, if you know his voice, you really hear it very clear. What's happening, man?
Right.
So a lot of the Detroit Lions were in that.
Right.
Did that.
Mel Farr, all those guys.
Yep,
Mel Farr, who went to USC.
Break it down, Karen. Break it down.
Now, Karen knows sports.
I know. I know football.
Sports. Yeah.
Yeah, sports, but especially football, because my dad and he was a big SC football guy, and obviously stuff with the Lakers, but Mel Farr, I remember he would take us to the games, and my dad knew him for whatever reason, and so I just admired him because he knew my dad.
Yeah, he was another really good friend of my husband's too.
Okay, my only football story, or my only big thing is, all right, Washington Redskins. I think they've only won the Super Bowl once too, right?
The artist formerly known as the Washington Redskins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Thank you for correcting me.
Yes. So I got you, baby. It's all good.
That Washington team.
Yes.
Okay, so they only won Super Bowl once too, right?
They won a couple.
Okay,
they won 2 Super Bowls.
Okay, so one of the first was with Roy Jefferson. My dad coached in junior high school.
Wow.
In Compton, and has been a family friend ever since. And
yes,
dear, wonderful guy. Still lives in Virginia, and
also a friend of my husband's.
Oh, get out! I didn't know that, girl. Oh,
See?
wow.
Yeah, it's all mixed in there together.
Is that
See,
when George Allen was the head coach?
Yeah, oh, God, yeah.
I was gonna say I looked straight at Karen when you
Yep,
said that. I'm like,
yeah, that whole thing.
well,
Wow,
Christian,
man.
we're about to take you through an exercise.
Uh-oh.
It's called the lightning round. We're going to ask you a question, and you don't have a whole lot of time to think about it. It has to be like the first thing that comes on your mind, okay?
Uh-oh.
So, what do you want written on your marquee? You can't think too long.
Fun.
Fun.
Fun?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so then wait a minute. So then ask the other one, Gail. What would be the title of your book?
Yes, what would be the title of your book?
Oh, the title of my book. I actually worked this out. Now I can't remember.
It's not the melody?
No, I was going to come up with something like 2 minutes left in the third quarter. That's going to be the name of my book.
Oh,
I like that.
that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I like
I
that.
like that. What advice would your 20-year-old self tell you today?
You mean what I tell my 20-year-old?
No,
that's
that's
Oh, what would my 20-year-old self say to me?
Yes.
yeah.
Really? That's what he would say. Really?
And what would you now say to your 20-year-old?
Shut up, kid. You need to get to where I am right now.
So, island vacation or a mountain getaway?
Probably island.
Okay. Which island?
Long Island. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we know that's a lie.
I don't know. Probably somewhere in the Caribbean.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Anywhere down there.
So mayo or mustard?
Okay.
I'm a mayo guy.
That's the Philly thing.
Well, yes, exactly. Unless it's a pretzel, then I'll go
And then
mustard.
it's mustard.
There you go, mustard.
Yeah, okay, and if it's a pretzel and mustard, do you do whole grain or the creamy stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't matter. Mustard.
Straight yellow mustard, stadium mustard.
Okay. The yellow stuff.
Right.
Frenches.
That's it. That's the one I was trying to remember. Right.
Whole wheat or white?
If I had to go with one or two, whole wheat, but I try to stay
So
away.
you're drinking your beet juice and carrot juice. Okay, so here's the last one: a Porsche or a Ford 150?
Ooh. Well, Melissa will want me to get the Porsche, but
So we'll ask her that.
But Porsche does make an SUV.
Yes, they do. Okay, I'll go with that.
With the Porsche SUV.
Yeah.
Christian, this is
okay. Have you guys ever watched this show on? I don't even know what it's on. It doesn't matter. The Kaminsky Method. I want to say
I've heard about it, but I haven't
it's
seen
Netflix. I think it's Netflix. The Kaminsky Method. It's Michael Douglas who plays this aging actor turned into actor's coach, and it was Alan Alda.
Right. Because it's based on the book called The Kaminsky Method, right?
Okay. I don't know.
I think there's a book called that.
Okay, it's hilarious. It is hilarious, but there is this scene where the fiance of his daughter, his daughter comes into some money, and the fiance decides to buy a Porsche, and he's like, no, anybody over the age of 60 should never buy a Porsche. And he's like, why? Because you can get in it, but you can't get out.
Can't get out.
That's right.
That's probably true.
And if you do, you look like a klutz coming out.
Aaron, how do you think we did with our inaugural Vanguard Arts?
Well, I am just
podcast, webcast, whatever.
I think, if only he had time, he could be our, go-to guy.
Yes.
Because we call this 3 chairs because it's Gail and I are 1 chair, or 2 chairs, and the third chair is occupied by the guest. But I think we could expand it to 3 chairs plus one.
Oh,
Hey, look, let me tell you something. We are all friends, but I deeply respect and admire you both as well. So anytime you need me for anything, I am so there.
Oh,
thank you.
Christian,
So
it really means a lot. And I think just to like bring it back full circle, that your intention has always been to be kind.
Mhm.
And you use the word nice, but I think it's really to be kind.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, Karen.
you're aware of how other people receive information. And that's
Mhm.
so important. And I appreciate that more so now than ever before. And I don't take it lightly. And I think what's been fun about this is that we not just have this mutual respect for each other, but that we can really just share, 50 minutes of
Mhm.
goodness.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I had a lot of fun. This is
Yeah.
great.
Oh, well, I mean, we don't, do we, you said 45 minutes. Do we have to get off now? Can we get like five more minutes?
we could end the broadcast and then just keep talking.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell everybody, Gail, I don't know if you know the story, but Karen and I almost died together.
I do not know that story. I do not know that story.
My first earthquake was the Northridge earthquake
Yeah.
in 1994 out in
Oh,
LA.
Yeah.
And Karen and I were hanging out at what was it, Mel's Diner? One of them late night diners.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Mills.
And you were driving me back to the hotel, and we got to a red light, and I was just like,
what's going on? Oh,
like,
wow.
what was that?
I didn't know a thing. I was like, wait, I think I might have a flat tire.
Right.
Wow.
That's what I said.
And
You all were together when that happened?
Yeah, and some guy pulled up alongside of you at the red light, and he was like, "Did you feel that?" And you were like, "Yeah, what was that?" And like, I was like, "Uh-oh, so, is this what I think it is? Oh my God!"
Oh,
And we got back to the hotel, and
Then all the lights went out. Remember that? It was
that's
like
right.
the
That's
city,
right.
all the
right.
power went out. So, and we were up on like Sunset or something, so you could see.
Yeah.
And you could see all the lights go out.
Yeah.
well, I guess you all will never forget how you met.
No, but finish that story though about Benny.
And then so once we kept driving, and Karen got me back to the hotel. By that time, the fire department had gotten there and had evacuated the hotel. So there were like thousands of people like on the street right there on Sunset Boulevard. I think we finally we ran into Benny, and I was playing with Benny Green and Kenny Washington, and we were like, "Yo, what is going on?" And then we all went to Karen's house, and oh man,
It ain't.
well, I mean, your house was like, the stuff was all over the place.
Everything was everything had fallen out of the cupboards and crashed on the kitchen floor. Because it was a major earthquake. It was like a 7.
Oh, I remember when that happened. I wasn't there, but I remember it. Wow.
We spent the whole day cleaning up.
Wow.
Cleaning up, feeding them. And then you guys were supposed to go up north. I think
you were supposed to go play Yoshi's.
That's right.
But that didn't happen. You couldn't go.
Well, it didn't happen that day.
Right. Not that
day. His manager at the time said, "Oh, no. We got to figure out a way for them to get up and drive up north." I'm like, "Well, it's an earthquake."
Yeah.
And there's like, down gas lines. I mean, it was huge. It was, I mean, people died. It was terrible.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
So
and then you had an earthquake in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is probably scarier.
Being in your hotel room, 28 floors up during an earthquake.
Yeah.
I almost preferred the Northridge earthquake.
Wow. Yeah. At least you were
on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh.
But I still take earthquakes over any other natural disaster.
Would you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They don't come as often. They don't. I mean, you know what earthquake weather is, the potential. I mean, we had one a few months back, and I was at dinner at my cousin's house, and they had a few friends, and I'm like, oh, there's an earthquake. And we're like, yeah. And then it went on. It was
Mm.
like a
Oh
rolling
man.
earthquake instead of a
Yeah.
shocker. And it went on. I was like, oh, yeah, it's still going on.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
That is what you're used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was an earthquake of a debut. Ha, ha.
Yes, it was. Oh, you're so corny.
We shook him up.
Oh, and if we don't stop her, Christian, it will go on and on.
Hey, before
One
we
day.
sign off, Gail, you got to give me one good Betty story before we sign off.
Oh, let me think of a good Betty story that I can tell.
Right.
In public. Well, you know, how I met her was how we got to work together was, to me, the best story, because my son, who's 43 now, was like a baby in
Right.
arms. And I had met her in Chicago, when I was living there at the time, and she said something like, you know, if somebody only knew how to put me on the circuit, I would go with them right away. And I stood up and I said, I know how to get you on the Black college circuit, because that's what she wanted. And she said, oh yeah, how? And so I gave her this long thing. And when I was finished, she said, well, thank you for that, but I can tell that you don't know what you're talking about at all. She said, but I like I like how you came up and just kind of did that. And she gave me her card.
Wow.
And said, so if you're ever in New York, look me up. So I went home and booked a flight to New York. But I had just had a baby, so I took my baby with me to New York. So I'm sitting in Betty Carter's kitchen with Arif bouncing on my lap.
Wow.
And he started crying, and she took him in her lap, and that's how we started working together.
Wow.
That's a great story.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a Betty Carter story that really shaped my life, actually, to tell you the truth.
And it's a testament to your ability to take criticism and run with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, because she was like, I can tell you don't know what you're talking about, because I just mapped it right out of my head, and I hadn't done it yet. I thought, this sounds good. She's like, no, baby, that wouldn't work.
I sometimes wonder how, you know, I think of young musicians coming up on the scene now, or just young people in general.
Mm-hmm.
How would they be able to take the directness of somebody like Betty?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have a strong heart.
Betty didn't pull no punches
at all. I mean, when you all said, when Karen said nice instead of kind, I remember saying to Betty one day that somebody was nice, and she said nice.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
Nice have to do with anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when she said that, I immediately thought of Betty.
Yeah. I was happy when Betty and my mom got to know each other a little bit.
Wow.
And then I was so happy that Betty and my mom bonded. And then after a few minutes, I was just like, maybe that wasn't a good idea.
That's so funny.
Man. Well, Christian, I mean, thanks don't go, far enough. I just think it's been good. It's been good.
This has been great.
Well, like I said, I will be more than happy to be your third chair anytime you need me.
All right.
Okay.
Well, you can't promise us that, because we will hold you to it.
All right.
Okay.
I love you guys.
I love you too. Bye-bye
Love
now.
you too. Bye-bye.
See ya.